Hey everyone, I'm the Canadian Lad, and in today's video I'm gonna explain why Moon Knight is the best Marvel series on Disney+, and how this show literally has no scenes that you could call a filler or a wasted opportunity. I know the popular opinion will always rank Loki as the best Marvel series so far, but Loki has been a fan favorite since the first Thor movie. But Moon Knight was literally considered to be a knockoff of Batman, so it wouldn't be fair to judge these two shows on the same scale. But despite that, if any series even comes close to Loki, it's Moon Knight. In fact, I'll even go as far as saying if Moon Knight was a movie instead of a show, I'd keep it in the same bracket as Avengers Infinity War, one of the best Marvel movies ever made, that went above and beyond everyone's expectations. Now speaking of super powerful Egyptian gods, you're gonna love today's sponsor, Rise of Kingdoms. Rise of Kingdoms is a free real-time strategy game now available on both mobile and PC, where you can actually experience battling thousands of players at the same time on the same battlefield. You may not have Mark Spector's powers in real life, but at least you can pretend you do in this game. Recruit real historical generals, train special soldiers, or even crash through different eras and create your dream city by developing technology, upgrading buildings, collecting resources, and much more. There are 13 civilizations to choose from, which have all appeared in real history, including the newly added Egypt. This brand new civilization comes with powerful troops and sophisticatedly designed heroes that can undoubtedly take the upper hand against other civilizations. Now, if you want to get ahead in game, try making an alliance with other players globally, and decide whether you want to farm, destroy barbarians, battle kingdoms, or even rule the world. And did I mention the game map is massive? There are 1.4 million square kilometers to explore, with vivid scenery and real terrain. So click the link in the description to download the game now, and use the gift code to get an incredible resource. And by participating in in-game community events, new and current players will have the chance to win a round-trip ticket to Egypt. Alright, so let me throw in my first most outrageous claim about Moon Knight that might upset some of the viewers. Moon Knight is what wokeness should look like when done correctly. Or in nicer words, Moon Knight is what true progress looks like when it's been handled with passion and proper research. The show gave us a strong male character while at the same time developing a strong female character for the future. It didn't look forced at all. In fact, I've seen men cheering for Layla just as loud they were cheering for Mark Spector or Steven. And that's what happens when you introduce a female character who is strong on her own without punching down on the opposite gender. A female superhero should be cheered for because she's good at something, not because she's trying to beat men who do the same job. Layla in the final episode becomes the Scarlet Scarab. Now, although Scarlet Scarab is originally a male character in the comics, but in the MCU it's now a female. But show me one person who complained about this. You'll find no one. And why is that? It's because Layla has been written as a strong female character right from the get-go, without giving her any hidden agenda. Her goals in life were simple: stand out for yourself, hold onto the teachings she received from her father, and finish off what her father had started. There were no hidden motives igniting her missions in life. She wasn't focused on becoming better than Mark Spector, nor did she seek attention. She didn't demand respect just because she's a woman. She earned it, just like it should be for anyone regardless of their genders. And Layla didn't magically learn to fight villains after she got the powers of the Hippo Goddess. She was already better at hand-to-hand combats than Steven, and was almost on the same level as Mark Spector. So when someone who is as trained and learned as she is, it wasn't difficult for us as the audience to accept her new role as the Scarlet Scarab. We wanted her to win just as much as we wanted Mark Spector to win. It wasn't a competition but a companionship. Now let's jump on the second reason why I think Moon Knight is one of the best shows Marvel has ever made. This show in general took care of a really complicated subject matter, aka mental health, and didn't try to victimize it. Mark Spector literally says in episode 3 that his feelings aren't at stake here, but something bigger.
This is not about my feelings. This is about how dangerous he is, if you would just listen for a second.
So a hero who's unwell, who doesn't even know who he is half the time, is not trying to play the victim card and get attention. Instead, he wants to bring attention to the antagonist, and admits that yes, I do need help, but punish the bad guy first.
I am unwell. I need help. But that doesn't change the fact that this man is...
This show perfectly summed up how people with mental illness must also be taken seriously. Just because they're not mentally stable all the time doesn't mean all their claims are fake. We got to see how helpless someone can feel when they're having to deal with such a level of mental disorder. And not once did we see Mark asking someone to have pity on him. He's unstable but not weak. He has chaos in him but wants order in the world. And a character written that way is bound to win over the audience. Now the third reason is the perfect balance between Mark and Layla. Mark protected Layla when he knew Layla needed needed help, and Layla protected him when she felt the same. It's a show about Moon Knight, and Layla didn't overshadow it with her presence, while at the same time the writers and director Mohamed Diab made sure to not fill it with over-masculinity, ignoring Layla's arc. There was a fine balance between the two characters. For example, in Endgame, when all the female superheroes come together, Okoye says Captain Marvel's got help.
She's got help.
And the help she gets is from all female superheroes, and that's why it looked forced. I mean, what's the problem if a man wants to help a woman? Is that a bad thing? We shouldn't overcompensate so much that we lose the touch of reality, and that's why Moon Knight's progressive story is so perfect. Here we saw Mark using his cape to protect Layla from being shot, while Layla protecting Steven at all cost. The show never tried to uplift one character by punching down on the other, and as I mentioned, this show has no filler scenes. So what exactly do I mean by that? It means this show had no scenes that weren't there if not for a reason. Every single scene, every single conversation from episode 1 to episode 6, everything was either paid off or had some meaning behind it. We were shown a conversation in episode 1 between Steven and a random lady, even though we don't quite understand what's happening, but as the story unfolds, the answer to our question starts becoming more apparent. And another thing that the writers did really well with this one is that they didn't try to dumb it down for the general audience, something that the MCU is guilty of overdoing. For example, we learned in episode 1 that Steven doesn't remember asking out this lady, and throughout the series we learned that Mark Spector is incredibly loyal to his wife Layla. So we as an audience who have been following the show and connecting each dots we're given, we automatically figured out it must be Jake Lockley who asked out this lady on a date. But the show never says it. They just leave it for the audience to interpret it in their own way. And what this does is it engages the audience in a journey rather than just watching a 6-hour show. When the audience figures out something on their own without having it shoved down their throats, it gives some sort of a satisfaction that it wouldn't get otherwise. It also shows the respect the writers have for the audience. And no, I'm not talking about huge cliffhangers, which Marvel pretty much does all the time. Cliffhangers usually get answered or revealed in the next movie or show, so that's different. But what happened in Moon Knight is there were things that weren't explained to us verbally, but we were given all the dots to connect ourselves, so that we can draw our own conclusion. In other words, the writers never tried to spoon-feed the plot to us. They trusted that we'd figure. Now the very last reason why I think this show is great is because the show spent 0 seconds trying to introduce a character for the future. They only introduced characters they needed in this one, and didn't try to put an inside joke about the Eternals. One of the reasons Iron Man 1 was such a massive hit was because it never tried to tell you a story of someone other than Tony Stark. Characters like Tony Stark, Doctor Strange, or Mark Spector, who have so much dynamic in their characters, shouldn't have to rely on the already established heroes to win over the audience. And that's exactly what the writers made sure to do. And that's why I titled the video the way I did. Please let me know if you agree with my opinions, as I tried to give you as many reasons as I could without boring you to death. And if you do, then please give me a thumbs up, grab the subscribe button, and turn notifications on. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter to get updates about my videos. Till then, I'm Kevin Hart, and I'll see you lads in the next one.